Don't put any qualificative or race or tradition or religion on me. I am before all a human being. Then I can be Jewish, black, Raelian. Remember, you are a human being.
I'm not Christian, I'm human.
I am not Asian, I'm a human being.
I'm not a man, I'm not a father, I'm a human being.
I am a conscious being, not human. And every conscious being is part of my family.
We are not gay, we're human. I'm not a woman, I'm a human being.
I'm not a European, I am a human being.
I am not a transvestite, I am a human being.
If the education will change and every baby born on this earth will receive education saying you are human, you are conscious. Forget the color, forget the religion. You are consciousness first. Then there is no more problem. And then we can choose, of course, different tradition, philosophy, but after and only after. And then there is peace and love on this planet. And the politicians don't have any more power on you.
Yes, and you know, and Rael's, you know, when he traveled to the planet of the eternal, they taught him the sensual meditation.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We're going to be talking to our resident Raelian. Well, I guess not resident, but...
actually, she's Canadian resident.
She's Canadian, so we can call her resident Raelian Diane Brisebois. But first, as always, the great Graham Dunlop. How's it going, buddy?
I like the sound of that, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah, I knew you would.
Yeah. Better than the great Graham.
The great Graham debacle.
Yeah,
and of course, I'm
doing well.
Are you? That's good to hear. Yeah. Why are you blinking like that?
I'm tired.
Like, are you signaling me? We're going to have a late night here in Grimerica. After we record this intro, we'll be doing our second roundtable with Mr. Bolelli and Richie Mon from the Drunken Taoist, however, whatever.
Yeah,
I always
really,
fuck that up.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. Those guys are hilarious.
That's okay. I've heard Daniele try to pronounce Grimerican on his podcast a couple times, and it doesn't come out real well either. So Red's joining us. How's it going, buddy? How you been? You staying dry?
Goal!
Oh,
hey guys, sorry.
Did you score?
Well, you know, the World Cup just started, so I may be trying to get in the vibe of things.
Are you a big soccer guy?
No, not really, but I always like it when the Mexican team plays because I know that's when I'm going to have zero problems getting back to my home. You know, I'm going to have zero traffic issues.
Soccer's big, I guess, and everyone else is watching the game. I seen Brazil won today.
It's a big fix.
Yeah, in Brazil, soccer is not a hobby, it's not even a game, it's a religion. It is the official religion of the country.
Does everybody know that it's all rigged anyways?
Well, I didn't watch the first game, but I think there's already a discussion that Brazil won because of the arbiter's decision for a penalty or something like that.
Aficionados. I seen that actually. I was in my boss's office watching it on his computer. He had it on, and we seen the thing, and then we seen him score. Of course, it's Brazil.
Of course. But actually, the only thing I wanted to see about the opening ceremony, which I sadly missed, was this thing that happened with this teenager kid who is a paraplegic, and he gave like the first kickoff of the World Cup using some kind of robotic exoskeleton.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah, that was the only thing I was interested in seeing. And there's some images already of the kid, you know. Obviously, the exoskeleton he's using is definitely more cumbersome than the nifty CGI animations that the Walk Again project had been issued for several months. But nevertheless, I think this is a huge, very, very important step, a huge technological development. And maybe 20 years from now, the World Cup will be played by people who are, part human and part cyborgs.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. That's what I always said. That's what I've always been saying about sports leagues. You got to start a sport league. Say maybe we'll start with baseball, but we encourage steroid use. And these guys will have to build bigger parks. These guys are going to be hitting the ball like fucking 700 feet. Once we get the money from that, like it'll be a matter of...
Just let people do whatever they can to enhance their ability.
Within a decade, you'd be more popular than baseball. And then you branch out to football, steroid hockey, fucking juice them up, let them give themselves robotic knees.
Whatever they can, whatever you can do. Yeah, that
obviously,
the football field to be 500 yards long.
Yeah, because this is first and foremost an entertainment, right? It is a show. But on the other hand, if those kinds of events will make possible to make advancements in that kind of technology, which could help people who are in some kind of physical disability, people who are no longer able to walk, who maybe are not have control over their arms or whatever, and they can be restored of that physical capacity. I mean, I have no problem whatsoever with that. It would be great to live in a world where wheelchairs are a thing of the past.
Or it's just going to help the rich people live forever.
Well,
another breakaway civilization.
Breakaway.
We're getting back to that issue again.
Let's not go down that tunnel today.
I do have to say one thing about the World Cup. I don't understand how how football can be decided over a penalty kick. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, those are the rules.
I know, it just seems so weird. Man. Like, it all comes down to, like, just one kick, two guys, a goalie and a guy.
Maybe that's part of the allure of soccer, because, in games like... And maybe... I'm not a sports fan, so I'm sure that some people will be commenting on the Grimerica page to criticize it. But maybe in some other games it's less exciting because things are decided, maybe several minutes after the game ends, most of the time. But with soccer, really anything can happen, before the arbiter, gives the final whistle. Really things can change dramatically, and the losing team can end up winning and vice versa, right?
Yeah, it just feels like it takes forever.
Soccer players are always whining about something. Embellishers.
Oh, they're total divers.
It's starting to bleed out.
If you did that in hockey, man.
My hockey's getting bad too. Fucking makes me sick.
I played against the Czechs in the ball hockey world championships, and they were flopping all over the place. It was disgusting.
We got listeners in Czechoslovakia.
Hey, nothing against the Czechs. They're just divers.
Okay.
What is divers?
It means you flop, like you exaggerate. You're like fake falling.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody barely bumps into you, and you fall like you collapse like a cheap tent.
Yeah, that's typical of soccer.
And Europeans
and
hockey
they moan
too.
and they stay on the ground, and then the arbiter will say, yeah, come over already, I'm not buying it. And then the guy, just will go and run to the side of the court like if nothing happened. Yeah, it was all an act.
Graham's got a little hot streak at him tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Started out in Czechoslovakia, then it's all of Europe.
I'll keep it to Eastern Europe. How's that?
Eastern Europe?
Yeah.
That's still bad, but whatever. It's a podcast.
Nothing against Eastern Europeans. It's just they like to dive.
Some sort of evolutionary advantage.
I mean, their own coaches, they encourage them to do that.
That's what I mean. It's just part of the culture. It's like they just they'll cheat to win, man.
Yeah.
Cheat to win, win to cheat.
So I
Part of the week.
Well, this isn't fair. I've been caught off guard. I wanted to have like a Raelian type UFO quote of the week, but anyways.
Why did you quote Rael?
Rael?
Yeah.
Oh, I could, eh?
Rael.
I don't have it handy.
Well, handy it up. The clock is ticking.
Okay, I have one here. It's time for the profound UFO quote of the week.
They got that from the jingle.
Let's be profound then.
Okay.
We use the best equipment to detect objects in our skies, even strange ones, with great results. We can distinguish between a commercial plane or other objects with our modern equipment. Concretely, from the United States, that are highly qualified sources of information, that we are inside an environment in which we have unidentified objects. Concretely, they are extraterrestrial objects, of that I am sure. We share the universe with other beings. And that's from Colonel Wilson Salgado, Commandant FAE-COS-1 of the Ecuadorian military.
Oh, Ecuador. Yeah.
Well done.
Thanks.
Dun, dun, dun.
But what about synchronicity time?
You got any synchros for us this week?
I don't have anybody. How about you?
I think one of us has one.
Nothing, eh? Joey's not here tonight, so.
No, man.
Well, I've got mine. It's not much one. I already rated it.
Well, but
I've rated it
listeners.
and also guessed what Graham would rate it. So here's how it went down, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I was on the Twitter at work, and I forget, it was like...
Were you on your break?
I'm always on my break.
Can I interrupt you like you interrupt me?
Yep, of course. Except I do it better.
That's a bitch.
I do it better. So anyway, I was on the Twitter, twitting. Twistling? I guess I wasn't tweeting, I was only reading tweets, so we'll call that twistling. Twisting? Anyway.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You see where I'm trying to go with that? It's fucking train wreck. Anyway, so it was like one of those slideshows where you go and there's 5 things. It was like five mysteries of the ocean or whatever, and it was this Julia sound, and I'd never fucking heard of it from like 1999. With some sound picked up by some deep sea microphone, super loud, I guess. They didn't know what it was. And then there's allegations that some fucking satellite had pictures of the area, and they seen some dark object, like as long as the Empire State Building, swimming away or something like that. But I don't know what's. I haven't looked into it enough about that. But the sound's real. I was listening, so I heard that. I was like, how did I never hear this? And I'm on YouTube, and I listen to the sound, and then I start looking at a bunch of other shit on YouTube down that rabbit hole. I ended up staying like 25 minutes past the end of the day on YouTube. So then I was driving home, and I was talking to RPJ on the Twitter, and I was talking about first we started about the Julia thing, and then I think we got into something else, and I was talking about how I like ocean mysteries and shit like that, and I'd like to get a guest on about, ghost ships or anything ocean related, really.
USOs?
Yeah, no, just like, no.
The bloop.
Maybe the Bermuda Triangle, but that might be okay. But anyway, yeah, there's the bloop one. There's a bunch of these anyway. So I was talking to him about that, and then I popped on the MU episode. While I was still talking to RPJ about doing an underwater or an ocean episode. And they started talking about this fucking shark, 9-foot great white shark that fucking was tagged, and they found the tag on a beach, and when they ran the scan on the tag, the electronic tag, it showed that it had went out to the continental ridge and fucking started swimming down real fast, and then all of a sudden its body temperature switched from 40 degrees to 70 degrees or something like that. So they're saying it got eaten.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of allude to it being eaten by something giant, which of course it doesn't have to be. Someone could have just taken a bite out of it, or who knows.
Mm-hmm.
Like a sea monster? Like the Kraken? Like what could eat a great white shark?
The Kraken.
Well, at first they speculated that it might have been a sperm whale, right?
I don't know.
Because right now the current theory was that the 9-foot white shark was killed and eaten by an even bigger white shark, like maybe like a 14-foot shark, right? Because 9-foot really, you say, oh my God, like it's like 3 meters long, which is like nothing, when you're talking about that species of shark.
Fucking twice the size of me.
Yeah, but it
3 of you.
Like I tell you, it really is like nothing, I mean, the shark in the movie Jaws, it was supposed to be 8 meters long. I don't know how many feet those are.
It's
like 26.
18.
Yeah, now we're talking about a really big monster. And there are even tales of even bigger sharks in the sea.
Yeah, so anyway, that was a synchronicity.
Okay, so it's time for Graham to rate it. Graham?
First of all, I have to say, now you know what I'm talking about when I put on a podcast, and I was telling you about that the last time we went over all these synchronicities, right? How you're listening to something or you're looking into something, and then you play this random podcast and it pops up.
Okay.
I don't know. I got to say that's probably like a 7.
Oh, man. I thought you would be even merciless, like 5.
What did I guess? What did I guess you would give me, RPJ?
7.5 or something like that.
What did I give myself?
Oh, like 3.5.
Oh,
3.6.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good?
No, I didn't even really think of it as a synchronicity. RPJ is the one who caught it.
Ah, man, that is a synchronicity.
I think you should be more aware. I think you should be more aware of your surroundings. If you're more present, you'd realize
I was in my truck driving through the country.
On.
I knew exactly where I was.
You just didn't recognize that you're on the path.
You need to pay attention.
No, that's pretty cool though, because a lot of underwater, like we haven't even discussed underwater stuff at all.
Yeah, man. Let's have a fucking
right?
show about the Loch Ness Monster, the Lake Champlain, Ogopogo Lake. I mean, I want to have a show about lake monsters.
So, I want to meet Justin at Lake Okanagan. We'll go Ogopogo hunting there. But hey, I want to ask you first about the shark thing. So, I don't understand the body temperature thing. It changed. The tag changed temperature because
it ended
was
up in the stomach of
something else.
Yeah, but here's the thing:
a living biological entity.
But the temperature was allegedly higher than the body temperature of a shark. So that's why, at first, it was thought that maybe that shark had been eaten by a marine mammal.
I wonder if it's possible it just fell off, floated to the surface, and then the sun heated it up.
No. That's not how they read the signal, man. No. That your Occam's razor is way dull.
Did you hear that, Darren? Your Occam's razor is very dull.
Mine?
Yeah. What about if it went into an underground cavern or something somewhere?
To the underground shark world, where they're scared to go out of there because the people will get them. They should be more scared of us than we are of them.
But I'm
pretty fucking scared of sharks.
But here's the thing, I mean, the idea that a shark was attacked by another shark, to me, is a bit disquieting, because maybe it's a signal that those motherfucking monsters with knife tall teeth are starting to get run out of food. You know what I mean?
And people are on the menu.
I see what you mean. They're eating their own.
You'll see shark attacks go way up when that starts happening. They'll just we're an easy source of food.
Did you see? Did you see the latest video of that guy in the Sydney Harbor? How he went around the fence and he jumped in with his GoPro on his forehead, and his buddy's like, "Hey, there's a shark there," and it shows him panicking underwater, and the shark fucking swimming by. It's like a great white swimming by. So he'd have to go under the water to see where the shark was, and then come up and try and swim for the shore, and then go under the water to see where the shark was. And
did he get away?
He got away. It almost seemed fake in a way, but...
Did they edit in Jaws music?
No, they didn't. It was all this
Missed
heavy breathing.
opportunity.
I remember once I was with my family swimming in the island of Cozumel. You know where that is, right, Darren?
Yeah, I've been there.
So I was there, you know, and in the beautiful turquoise waters of the Caribbean, you know, that is crystal clear, you know, so you can see for, I don't see miles, but, you know, tens of meters, you know, deep when you are, you know, below water. And I saw very close to me a barracuda.
Oh.
And it probably was, you know, like a 2 feet long barracuda. But when you're a kid and you're there, you know, I felt that motherfucker was like, you know, 3 feet long. And I don't know, I probably did like Jesus and walked on water, you know, just to get out of that thing.
Those are creepy looking too. They're freaky.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously not as dangerous as a shark, but they can be very nasty.
Yeah. So I've got some feedback here, Darren, if you want to hear. Spam,
Absolutely.
Some spamgram.
Spamgram.
Yep.
Don't spam Darren. You just spamgram.
That's the jingle then?
That's Darren's little homemade
somebody needs to do that. Somebody needs to do that properly.
It'll sound better when it all comes together.
So this is Spamerica. Spamerica. That's the title of this email.
Spamerica?
Kind of, yeah. So just wanted to say hi from Norway. I accidentally came across your channel on YouTube and now I'm hooked. Nice show, interesting topics, and good humor. Was listening on headphones in bed last night. Broke out in laughter and woke up the whole family when Darren said, "Wonder if he's got a brother named Mike Hawk."
That was epic.
Funny as fuck. I definitely spreading the show around to my friends over here. Norway loves the Grimerica show. Keep up the good work, guys. Very entertaining. So, yeah, thanks, Halvor from Norway. We love Norwegians too. So,
yeah, sweet.
That's awesome.
That was probably the first time we've ever fucking lost control like that on. Laughing like that on the air?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that was...
it was too much.
Yeah, it was a bit much.
The funniest part was you didn't catch on right away.
I had to say it
I was bursting out laughing and I was just kind of watching you because you were just like, what?
Yeah, I admit that the first time I was listening to you guys laughing, I was like, huh? What? What did I miss?
Because I don't think I've ever heard of Mr. Hawk before. I've heard of Mr. Hunt. But not Mr. Hawk.
Good times.
Yeah.
So I got another one here. This is really good. He says, "Hey guys, just finished the show with Simon Chikoisky, The Five Dharmas. Wow, that had to be the best show ever. I thought the Chris Ryan show could not be beat, but you really outdid everything on this one. Your show had to be the best and most real podcast out today. You guys asked the questions that the average person listening wants to know. I'm thinking of a question, and Graham asks it. Mm-hmm. So there you go, Darren, on sincerity. What's my score number on that one? Been listening from number 2.
Synchronicity.
We'll listen to anything you guys put out. My wife is into yoga and meditation and also loves the show. Thanks so much for all you do. Happy first year. Second year is going to blow everybody's minds. Boom. And that's Harold from Venice, Florida. And he says, stay warm in the igloo. The igloo, which is melting. And he says, P.S. Say hi to Red Pill Junkie from Florida.
Hi back. Thanks. That I almost say that I should also say that episode was really good. I didn't comment on the Grimerica's comment section, but I was really entertained by what's the name of this guy?
Simon Chikoisky.
Simon, yeah, I was really entertained by Simon's stories. You know, his journey from being this, you know, like. Weightlifting guy to now being this, you know, like kind of a guru, if you will.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun in that episode. So it's interesting to me that he picked the 2 episodes where personally, you know, they were some of the most fun, right? Real casual conversation style, like Chris Ryan and Simon. You know, it wasn't so much of an interview as it was a cool chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, those are fun ones. But I think we should probably wrap it out. Of course, thanks for the great feedback. It's always appreciated.
Yeah, and we try and read. Well, we do read them all, and I try and reply to them all, but some might slip through the cracks in the igloo.
Crack slipping.
To the bottom of the ocean.
So we do have to mention quickly before we move on, though, is the Moneybomb, right?
Oh, yeah, the Moneybomb. Yeah, donations are down this month. So what do we got, 3 weeks left? 2 weeks left?
2 weeks left, yeah.
2 weeks left to try and jam some funds together so we can pick a random listener from the pool and fire back some cash to them, pay some bills here. So value for value. If you guys can afford to throw a bone, then do it. And like we say, check out grimerica.ca/moneybomb for all the details. But it's basically a 50-50. If you can't afford to donate, you can always send us a postcard, or there's a couple other options there on the website as well.
And Darren's giving away Grimerica email addresses for $5 a month. So that's a way to get yourself an email address and get yourself into the Moneybomb before Darren cuts us off.
Yeah, it's almost like a rite of passage. They'll be limited, so limited to 50. All right, guys, I think that's about wraps it up. Of course, we're going to be talking with Diane Brisebois about the Raelians. You know much about the Raelian movement, Red?
I have read some about their claim, about how the movement, and I'm being kind of kind here, calling it a movement instead of a cult. But yeah, I know a bit about the Raelians.
Wow. Anyway.
Sorry.
We better move on before Red keeps going here.
Okay, so don't get me started here. I'll reserve my judgment after I listen to the...
Okay, sounds good. Yeah,
that was a fun episode.
It was totally fun. Yeah,
it was a good time. Diane was a great sport. We had a great chat. I think you guys will enjoy it. Next week we'll be coming at you with Roundtable, right?
I think so.
Yeah, next week will be
and we will be releasing the Passport episode too. Right.
Perfect.
That's right.
All right.
Soon.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the interview, and we'll catch you here in about an hour. Okay, guys, in Grimerica tonight, we're going to be talking with Diane Brisebois about the Raelian movement. But first, how's it going, Graham?
Hey, Darren, I'm doing pretty good, buddy. I'm looking forward to this talk. We've been thinking about it for a while.
Yes, so you want to give us a quick rundown before we jump into it with Diane?
Yeah, sure. So for decades now, in the background here, we've had this Raelian movement been steadily growing. And as far as I know, it's like over 70,000 members and in 97 countries, kind of like hidden in plain sight. I mean, everyone's probably heard of the Raelian movement, but a lot of people probably don't know the ins and outs. So we've got Diane Brisebois here, who's the one of the spiritual leaders, spiritual guide of the Raelian movement. And we'd like to welcome you to the Grimerica show, Diane.
Great. Thank you very much, Graham.
Yeah,
Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I suppose first there's probably, there's probably a chunk of our listeners that might not know what we're talking about. Could you just give us a quick rundown on the ins and outs of Raelianism, is it?
Yes, yes, of course. Well, the Raelian movement was started in, after the founder had an encounter with an extraterrestrial. And, he didn't expect this at all. At the time, he was a sports car racer and journalist. And he was very happy at what he was doing. He was married. He had 2 children. And one day he decided to use a different road to go to work. And it was in France, in the central France. And he saw a big light in the sky that attracted him. So he went into this volcano park. And the light came down, and actually it was a UFO that immobilized itself from the ground, and a being came out and came to speak to him. And so, he was regretting not having a camera with him, but it was a very short encounter, and the being told him to come back the next day at the same time, and this being entrusted him with a message that was addressed to the whole of mankind for us to understand our origin. And so what the extraterrestrial explained to him as they met for 6 days in a row for an hour a day, and they explained to him that they had come a long time ago to create all forms of life on Earth. And at the time, the planet was fully covered with water, but they, with gigantic bombs, they created a big hole where the water rushed in, and the dry land appeared. And this is what we read in Genesis in the Bible. And so they have sent, they created all forms of life thanks to DNA, which is the basic of life, deoxyribonucleic acid. And they started with very simple organism and then went to more complex and more sophisticated beings, until one day they decided to create a man to their image, to their likeness. And that's what they did. So they, through times, they were not allowed to create life in their image. It was forbidden by the government. But they did, regardless of the government orders, they decided to do this out of their passion and love for the creation and also for the art that they were practicing, and the science that, they had a group of scientists and artists working together. And, when the government found out that they had created life on Earth, they were very upset, and so they isolated them on the planet. And so they were not allowed to return to their planet. And so you read this story of these beings that were living at the time with the creation, with the man that they had created. And eventually these extraterrestrial saw that the daughters of man were fair, and they took them for their wives. And the son that were born unto them, they were very famous men, which is what we read again in the Bible. And so the people that were mistaken for God are actually the Elohim. And the Elohim is a Hebrew word that was mistranslated to the word God, but literally what it means is those who came from the sky. And furthermore, it's a plural as opposed to be a singular.
Yeah, I think
when it was translated,
heme is a plural.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So Elohim being a plural, the singular would be Eloha. And so these Elohim decided to send, prophet to help us to survive, because once their government forgave them and they were allowed to go back to their planet, then they said, well, how are we going to help our creation to survive and to live, without us being around and us, not being there to provide them with guidelines? So they decided to send prophets. in different times, in different epoch, in different parts of the world. Because originally there were 7 teams of creators. And that's where you find, the different races. So there were different teams that were creating on the planet. And these prophets that they sent were Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Joseph Smith, and all the great prophets. There's several of them. And they have chosen Rael to be the last prophet, that is announced to come at the time of the apocalypse. And so Rael was not happy about finding out that he had been chosen for this, because he was very happy in his life. And he was not sure that he really wanted to undertake this mission. So he had to think about it for a while. And then he realized that it would be very egotistic to go on with his life and say, no, I don't want to do this, when you think that it's to save humanity from destruction. So he decided to take on the mission, and that's what he has been doing since he had the contact with the Elohim. But, they have asked him 2 things, is to gather people who wanted to welcome them back on Earth, to build an embassy to welcome them back so they could come and meet officially with our governments, and also to spread this information to all beings. So when they come back, they will come back with all the prophets and, all the people that have been recreated on the planet of the Eternals. So all the great prophets, when we talk about, Jesus coming back, he would come back because he's maintained alive on the planet of the Eternals. So there's a planet where the Elohim lives, and there's another planet where people, earthlings, people that have lived on our planet, that have helped our humanity progress, that have been recreated on a planet that we call the planet of the Eternal. And Yahweh is one of them. Yahweh is not an earthling, but he's an Eloha. And he was the first extraterrestrial on which who was recreated after he was a certain age and he was going to die. They were able to recreate him. And he was the first one on which the recreation had worked. And so he's 25,000 years of age. And so he's part of the wise. And he's part of, he's actually the one that Rael has met when they had their encounter. And he's actually the father of Jesus. And he's also, he explained also that Rael had been chosen for this mission, but he was also conceived for this mission. So it was quite shocking for him to hear all this information, but he has decided to go on and to pursue and to take on this mission to spread the message everywhere on the planet. And so Rael, since he has received the message, has been traveling everywhere on all continents to spread the message, and also to have Raelian help him to spread this information. And of course, as of today, there are only 2 possibilities of creation of life. You have either we are born we were created by an almighty God, impalpable and supernatural, or we are the fruit of evolution, where we came from a drop of water that became a fish, and that became eventually a mammal, and eventually became a human being. So this theory, or this creationism, because we are atheists, we do not believe in God, is another possibility of the creation of life that we're offering people.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That leads us to a load of questions. So, yeah. Thank you for explaining that in such depth. I do have a quick question here. So, Rael is where Raelians come from, and then the the actual name of the ET race is still the Elohim? Or
yes,
what, or?
The Elohim are humans, but they just live on a different planet that has a different environment, and therefore, for them, they could not live here because they do not, live in the same atmosphere that we live in, here on the planet. But they can travel and they can come here. And but yes, they are extraterrestrial, but they are human. They look like us. They have same physiology. We were created in their image, so they look exactly like us. Two hands, two arms, two legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. I get it. So how far back then do you guys say that that they started this whole process of creation? Like I thought I read somewhere like thousands of years. So do you guys have
approximately 13,000 years ago.
Oh, interesting.
And sometimes people would say, well, how come, people find bones or archaeologists, they think that they have found, a dinosaur maybe that was many more years. When they came on to create life on Earth, there was no life. But it doesn't mean that there hadn't been life before.
Oh.
So it is possible, this planet, there was no life when they came, but it's possible that there had been life before.
So it's even possible there could have been perhaps intelligent life before.
It's possible.
Because that would explain, I think it's just a matter of time till we find some buildings that are older than that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also the other thing is that we have to consider is that our datation methods are not necessarily accurate.
Yeah, there's always that too. That's true.
Because the way that the methods for dating things considered everything is constant in the universe. And if there's the only one thing that is constant is change. It's like if you see a car driving in the parking at 20 kilometers per hour, you cannot think that this car was always driving at 20 kilometers per hour. And that's the way that things are measured in that, when they're dating things, that things were constant. So, things change in the universe. We look at, temperatures changes as well. So that, it's very difficult for us to come up with a dating system that would be accurate, considering that everything is always changing.
So you know what I thought about, Darren, when she mentioned blowing the holes in the crust to let the water go through? Have you ever seen those blue holes around the world? Like the really circular, deep blue holes? Have you heard of those, Diane?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I swam across one in Dahab. It's like in Egypt, and these things are all around the world. And they're like, I don't even know if they know how far down the bottom is, but it's like a massive circular hole in the ocean.
Right.
I've never seen those. We should pull one up.
Yeah, you should pull one up. Yeah, it's super scary snorkeling across the diameter of one. It's very freaky.
Right.
So yeah, lots of questions here. When this whole thing was going on with the Elohim and sort of with the daughters of men and all that kind of stuff, was there other ETs there too? Like, has it just been like, what's your view about other races of ET, and have they interfered, or is there like a peaceful pact between races?
Yes, absolutely. The Elohim, we are the garden of the Elohim. They came here, this is their little part of, the little corner of the universe that they have cared for. And so there is an agreement that other extraterrestrial life would not interfere with us. Having said that, the Elohim have created on 3 planets. When they created life on Earth, they also created on 2 other planets.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
Yes. One of the planet they have created, life did not survive. Life has disappeared on that one planet. The other planet, the beings that were created are living, and they may eventually contact us. And it was said that if they do contact us, it would be for us, it would be our work to tell them that we have been created by extraterrestrials, because they would not know about it. So they haven't been in contact with them the way they have been in contact with us. And so it would be for us to tell them. So it is possible that we have some brothers in space that may one day try to contact us, and they would not know anything about where they come from.
And what happened to the other race that didn't survive? Did they destroy themselves, or did they just not make it because of environmental reasons?
Yes, that's right. So I don't remember the details, but I know that they did not survive, and so they didn't make it. I'm not sure the reason why they didn't make it, but yes, I don't recall. But it's in Rael's book. It is explained in Rael's book, and it's been a while, but I don't remember the details about that one.
Is that the big book that's available on your website, like a free download?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that's
the design. You can read it. The intelligent design, when it was first written, it was written in French, and it includes 3 books. So intelligent design includes the first encounter, and then 2 years after the first encounter, Rael had a second encounter with the extraterrestrial. They came back 2 years later. And also, in the Intelligent Design book, there's a 3rd book that was written after to answer some of the questions that people were asking about the first 2 books, about the message and about questions that people had, frequently asked questions. And then in the second part of that book, he provides more information that he was not allowed to release until a little bit later. So he writes a little bit more information, and that's where he tells us about, that he had also been created for this mission. And so his father is also the father of Jesus. So he's like half brother with Jesus, but also that he was conceived for this mission, and to his path for all his life had been already been planned, and then he had the ultimate choice to decide if he was going to undertake the mission or not.
And that's decades ago. So your movement has it steadily grown? Like, where are you at now for members? Like, it is astonishing how widespread your movement is.
Yes, it is. And, it's been since, the movement started when Rael had the first encounter. It took him about a year to write his first book, and then to get it published and to start, people reading it. It took a while, but the first 2 years were about, writing his book and getting it published. And then 2 years, that was in 73, is December 13, 1973 was the day he had his first encounter. And then the second encounter was October 7, 1975. And on October 7, 1975, they came back and they told him that they were very happy with the work that he had done. At the time, he had published a book, and he had gone to a TV station, and once he went on the TV station, lots of people start writing him letters saying, I want to help you. I'm interested in helping you spread this information on the planet. I speak different languages. I could help you translate, the book and all that. So he had lots of response and lots of people that were interested in helping him. And so he started creating, the organization that we know today. And so 2 years later, when they came back, they told him that they were very happy with what he had done. And they also decided to take him aboard the spaceship. And he traveled to the planet where the Eternals are living. And so he was taken to that planet, and for 24 hours, he spent 24 hours there to experience, and they showed him how they recreate a human being right in front of his eyes. And that's all detailed also in the book Intelligent Design. It's in the second part of the book, which is the second book in French. And that's when they gave him more information. They taught him the sensual meditation technique to help him, because the first year after he had the first encounter, he developed ulcers. He became very sick because it transformed his life. He was very happy at doing what he was doing, and so all of a sudden, upside down, and he wasn't sure if he was.
It's interesting how he was chosen, as he's already a happy and content guy. Like it makes me wonder if you have to be that way already, right? You're not going to need this external gratification to make you whole and content.
Right. And I think that also, he was followed by the Elohim all his life. And so I think that, the experiences that he had in his life, he was very close to nature. He was also an artist. He played music. He was very much, he was not into having things. He was already happy the way he lived. And so, and this is truly what the Elohim have been teaching. In the Raelian philosophy is really a philosophy not about having, but a philosophy of being, and being happy, not having.
That was one of my next questions, was some of the principles that you guys follow, like happiness and love, that type of thing, right? It's very sort of your sort of cliche spiritual principles, but that's what you guys have been talking about for decades, right?
Yes, and Rael's, when he traveled to the planet of the Eternal, they taught him the sensual meditation. And sensual meditation is something they have taught him, so he could teach that to us. And sensual meditation, basically, it's the awakening of the mind through the awakening of the body. Mm-hmm. The body and the mind are linked. And, if you think about it, we are linked to our environment through our senses. We can see and we can feel, we can hear, in our environment, everything. We can touch, we can taste. And so when our brain is the most in a state of awakening is when we can awaken those senses. So the more you try to awake your senses, the more you will be connected with your environment. And so in his seminars, he teaches people how to fine-tune our senses. Like for instance, you probably have done this in the past. Blocking your sight mm-hmm. with a band, you can enhance your sense of hearing simply by blocking your sight.
Yeah, we've tried meditation and sensory deprivation chambers and like the float tank and that type of thing. So. Oh,
you have, yeah. So, just by blocking your senses or doing a meditation, one of the meditation that Rael teaches is a meditation on void, which is blocking all your senses one by one. until you become like a rock. And when you do that, I mean, it's a very difficult exercise to do, but if you practice that, you feel renewed after. You feel like, and it's nice to be reconnected again. Another thing that he teaches is a fast, to do 24-hour fast once a week. So if you fast, then you, first of all, you allow your body to cleanse. And secondly, you give your body a break, and when you eat again, you enjoy it even more.
Yeah,
and you can do it in a more conscious way. You know, you break your fast with a fruit, and you can truly taste the fruit. You know, more consciously. So it's you know, there's small exercises that you can do at home, you know, on your own. And Rael teaches these things, you know, to enhance your different senses.
Do you guys all do that? Do you guys all fast once a week?
Yeah, I do. I have been fasting once a week for many, many years. And, you know, truly, when I don't do a fast, if I skip from fasting because I'm traveling or for some other reason, I really miss it. So it's something that I really feel I need to do. If I don't do it, I say, oh, I can't wait to do my fast, you know. So, and it's very simple. Fast is just I have dinner, let's say on the Thursday night, and then I'll have dinner again only on Friday night. So you skip 2 meals, and you know, it's not very long. You sleep at night, and you wake up in the morning, and you drink water all day, and then you have dinner.
I've been fasting lately. I've been fasting between meals, and that's hard enough.
Oh, really?
trying not to snack.
Yeah, well, what you can do is just drink water in between your meals, and you'll find that you're not hungry as much.
This is true.
And at the same time, the water is cleansing. It's helping you. It's helping your body to heal.
So, have you had any experiences of your own? Or I guess, I don't know, like, have most Raelians, have they had their own experience, or is this kind of all based on what Rael saw?
Well, I'll tell you that there are some Raelians that have witnessed very interesting events. When, you know, we have 4 celebrations a year. Raelians, we celebrate the first encounter, the date of the first encounter, December 13. Then we celebrate also October 7. We also celebrate the first Sunday of April, which is the celebration for the creation of life. And we also celebrate August 6, because of August 6, 1945, when the atomic bomb fell on Hiroshima. The Elohim realized that we had arrived at a time that we had enough scientific knowledge to either self-destroy or to enter the golden age. And so at that point, they decided to send the last prophet. And so Rael was born on September 30, 1946. And so we always celebrate August 6th as year 1, you know, year 1 in 1946, and then, you know, and so on. So now in Raelian, the Raelian philosophy, we are in year 68. And
so this August will be your 68th anniversary?
Actually, August 6th, that is coming, is going to be August 6, 69.
Oh, that'll be a big one.
Yes, year 69. And so on August 6th, 1 year in August 6th in Japan, Raelians were gathered to celebrate in Hiroshima. And they were in a park, and they were together, and they had done a meditation. And when they opened their eyes, there was a UFO above them, and there were angel hair falling from the sky.
And what year was that, did you say?
Oh my goodness, I don't remember the exact
was it a
year.
long time ago? Because that was
yeah, it was some time ago.
Yeah, okay.
And so there was one of the Raelian who's a scientist. And so what he decided to do is he had a little jar. So he took one of the angel hair into this jar, closed it, and he had this angel hair in the jar. And he thought, I'm going to take it in my lab and I'm going to study it. And I'm going to try to find out what they're made of. And so he took the angel hair into his lab, and when he opened the jar, it disintegrated. So he was so disappointed because he thought, oh, I had this.
So close.
Yes. So, but anyway, so that was one of the. There are some Raelians that have seen UFOs. You know, I'm not. I'm not one of them. I have seen them often in my dreams because I'd love to welcome them in the embassy. And so often, you know, I've done meditation, seeing them arriving and, you know, being the day that they arrive and they come with all the prophets. And so this is, you know, I'm like the little girl who can't wait to see them coming back, you know.
How long have you been in it for?
This kind of ties in with CSETI. Do you guys like? Do you guys get any members that came from CSETI?
Actually, some of our members are members of SETI and are invited to go to their conference and are invited to, you know, when they have movie screening and, you know, all that. Yeah. So we, you know, we are very, you know, and we're in touch with them, and they are aware of us. You know, Dr. Stephen Grimm, I think is his name.
Greer.
Yeah, Greer. Yeah, that's right. He's, you know, he knows about us because we've been to his conference many times, and we've given him the book, and so he's aware of the Raelians, definitely.
So I gotta ask, do you guys get much blowback? Because I mean, celebrating the day an atomic bomb got dropped, and I mean, you can't the swastika and the symbolism. I mean, that's gotta rub some people the wrong way. Have you experienced any of that firsthand?
Yes, and you know, I think that there's you know, there's a lot of education that needs to take place because, like, you're just talking about the swastika and the Star of David. We have a day called the Swastika Day, which is coming up very soon. We do this every year to educate people about the symbol. Mm-hmm. First of all, the Star of David and the swastika are two symbols that are very, very old. And if you look up the Tibetan Book of the Dead, you will find the Star of David and the swastika together. And this is a book that's much older than the Bible. And the symbols were together into one symbol. The symbol of the Star of David and the swastika represent infinity in space and infinity in time. It's the symbol of the Elohim because their philosophy is also infinity. And so the Star of David represent what is above is like what is below. And it represents the macrocosm and microcosm. So what you find, if you think about what you will find when you look at the stars, and they're part of a galaxy and part of a universe, you might be looking at a
atom,
microcosm of a gigantic being. And the same thing in the other way, when you're looking at that, on your hand you have cells, and then you have protons and neutrons, and then you go to the nanoscale, you might be looking at the, you know, the infinitely large, a very small being. That's what the Star of David represent, infinity in space. And then the swastika represent infinity in time, meaning that everything is cyclic. It's like a cross that you see in movement, and you would see the trail that the cross is creating as it's turning. And so the swastika represents that everything is cyclic. There's no end and no beginning. Everything that exists has always existed and will always exist. depending on the form, matter or energy.
So, as usual, everybody gets dogmatic about these symbols, and you guys are trying to educate them to their origin?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and and again, the Swastika Day, the reason why we have made Swastika Day is because in Germany, they have decided that they want to ban the swastika. Well, they want to ban the swastika because they are ignoring that in Buddhist country, the swastika is everywhere, on Buddhist temples and architecture. In synagogues, you find swastika on the floor of synagogues in Israel. They're everywhere.
It looks like,
and it has nothing to do with the Nazis.
It looks like also Hopi, Hindu, Aztec, Tibet.
Absolutely.
They all. Yeah.
Jainism, there's so many different religions that have used the swastika, and the swastika truly is a symbol of peace. It was a symbol of luck, even here in Ontario. There's a city called Swastika, and the reason why it's called that way is because they had struck gold. And the people, the government wanted to change the name of the city, but the people refused to have the government change the signs and change the name of the city. They kept reversing it back to swastika because they said this is good luck. And so you can Google this and you will find all this information. You can also go to our website on swastika.org, and you'll find a lot of information about the symbol. But this symbol is everywhere on the planet. You will find it in so many different, in archaeological sites. I traveled to Mexico to visit the pyramids in Mexico, the Aztec and the Toltec, and you will find the swastika in their architecture. So it has nothing to do with the Nazi. It's so sad that a leader would use a symbol and create such a stigma that we would want to get rid of the symbol. The symbol is not responsible for what people do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But people get stuck with the idea that the Nazi used it. And, and on top of that, the symbol was slanted. It was not in the same position, but, people think that the symbol means evil. It doesn't. It means good luck. It's well-being. Mm-hmm. If you talk to any Indian, it's a good symbol.
Yeah, you can't disregard the origins of that symbol just because somebody used it for evil purposes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But you got to think about branding.
So what about the rest of the UFO community and the UFO movement? Like, what do you guys think about all the sightings? And then you guys must also get blowback, like Darren was saying, from the UFO community, the people that kind of no longer support the ET hypothesis or that type of thing.
Well, there are a lot of people that are, non-believers, and I respect that. There's some people that need to see, they need to touch before they believe. Mm-hmm. There's all kind of people, and I respect if they don't believe. But I think that there are a lot of people that have seen UFOs, and some of their sightings have been explained because they were either airplanes or hot air balloons or something else. But there are a number of sightings every year, and they are increasing. The number of sightings are increasing every year, especially here in Ontario. There was a report just recent indicating how, we had like 20 times the number of sightings more than a few years back. And so the Elohim said that they would show themselves more and more. And it's normal that we're going to see them more and more because these are the signs. It said in the apocalypse, there will be signs in the sky. When the apocalypse is there will be signs in the sky. For us, these are some of the signs. And, we've been requesting, I think we've made 8 requests to Israel to have a piece of land where we could have the embassy there. Mm-hmm. And they have turned us down. So just recently, we've made a request, to the representative of the International Raelian Movement that are officially, handing over the project file for the construction of the Embassy of the Elohim to the Canadian government. Ah. So this is very fresh news that I'm telling you because this press release just came out yesterday.
Oh, very nice. So we're Canadians, obviously. We're in close to Calgary. So do you know where this embassy will be?
Well, this is very interesting because you may not know this, but right in your province, in the city of St. Paul.
Yes.
You know about this?
Is that the alien landing pad?
Yeah.
So you do have a landing pad for extraterrestrial. And just recently in Hawaii, there's another group that have requested the government of Hawaii to have a landing pad, just like St. Paul. And they would like to have a landing pad. And so they're the second group that have requested to have a place specific on the islands so a UFO could land. So, there may be a lot of skeptic everywhere in the world, but there are some people that truly believe that there is life out there, that we're not alone, and that they will want to come to give us their scientific knowledge, or they will want to come and visit us. Mm-hmm. And so we've made the request to several times to Israel, because this is ideally the Elohim would have liked for us to have the embassy in Israel. But as we know, there's a lot of turmoil happening in Israel for the past 50 years or so. And so they have not, given us, after 7 refusal from the state of Israel, to answer to our request, we decided that we're going to offer the opportunity to host this historic project because, to all the countries of the world, because this is a great opportunity to bring a great boost to the economy of that country. Because imagine if there was a country that accepted to have an embassy to welcome extraterrestrial, and the extraterrestrial came, how much tourism that would bring to that country. To see, and to be close and to be able to see these UFO landing.
What's funny is...
I wonder if it'd be more than Colorado.
Colorado, what do you mean?
The weed tourism.
Oh,
I wonder if alien tourism would be more.
Oh my God, it would blow it away. Are you kidding me?
You think so?
So it's funny, though, you mentioned Israel, because that's where my sighting was. I saw a UFO in Tel Aviv. So,
wow.
Yeah.
You are fortunate,
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That's
beautiful. It was pretty, pretty profound.
So Israel's holy land to the Raelians too, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yes, and we have the Raelian movement in Israel, and there's a guide, bishop, who is in Israel. And several years ago, he blew the shofar, which is this trumpet, as it is announced in the Bible, that, the last prophet will be here when you hear the shofar. And so several years ago, Léon Mellul, who's responsible for the spreading the message in Israel, he went to blow the shofar on the place where the pilgrimage, often people go pray, and so it's a public place. And so it was very interesting, the reaction of the people. And I think that, all the things that, we have done to have Israeli, and there are a group of Raelian in Israel and also in Palestine, and but we've done everything so so they would have an opportunity to have the embassy there. And if it's not going to be in Israel, we thought maybe it could be on Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
And so that's another possibility. But at this point, since Israel has refused to answer our request, then we're going to offer this opportunity to all the countries of the world. And so there is going to be a press conference on June 4th in Ottawa.
June 4th, tomorrow?
Yes. Tomorrow, the Raelian Movement will host this press conference at the Ottawa Marriott Hotel.
Okay.
To talk about the embassy file that will be handed to all the attending journalists. So if you're interested, you could get a copy of this package. We could send it to you through mail, and you could talk about it some more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'll get Graham can send over our PO box after the show.
Yeah. So does that mean that St. Paul is actually have a potential candidate here to increase its landing pad potential?
The problem that we have encountered so far, it's the extraterritoriality. Only the army has this privilege of extraterritoriality. And, I think it's a concept that doesn't exist right now. So if we wanted to have a place where the UFO could land, the Elohim would like to have the extraterritoriality, because they could have the army, attacking them.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So an embassy is a place where you are protected. Protected space.
Yeah.
And so in this case, we also need to have the protected airways. And so in order to have the protected airways for the UFO, we need to have extraterritoriality. And so this is something that needs to be put in place for space travelers.
That makes more sense now. I was wondering why Israel would want to block it, but I guess if you want airspace over Israel, that'd be yours.
That's probably the main holdback there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's something that doesn't exist right now that we would have to put in place. Just like when the army is flying, they have specific corridor that they're allowed to fly in. But as soon as they go out of their corridor, then they could be intercepted, and so by that specific country army. So there is no extraterritoriality. I'm sorry, where people could not go into this corridor. So and of course, understanding our background and seeing how violent we have been. I think this is the least they can ask for.
Yeah.
Making sure that we're not going to be attacking their vessels or, trying to kidnap a UFO to try to, observe it and test it and do all these crazy things that we'd like to do to any extraterrestrial we would find.
Yeah. So are they in contact with other groups of people at all, do you think, or is it just basically through Rail?
They said that they would contact only one person, because we know how, you probably heard the telephone game before. You speak to several people and then, everybody hears a different thing.
Yeah.
So there's only one messenger, and Rael is the representative of the Elohim. So if they were to come on Earth to meet officially with the government, they would want their ambassador to be present, and he would be their spokesperson. So Rael, would be the individual that would be there to speak in their name, or to simply to arrange for all the leaders to meet with them. Yeah.
Darren,
So
you got a couple.
this is huge, and I think our humanity. Sometimes I wonder if we are truly ready for this. When you look at what's happening in Nigeria, and what's happening in all different parts of the world where there's so much, in Afghanistan and in Israel, we are so violent, and we have so much to learn spiritually.
I think it's polarized, though. I think we have people that are, increasing their level of consciousness, and we have people that are, still very violent, right? So,
yes.
And then, I don't know what to believe anymore with the mainstream media and what's really going on in the world. There's two sides to every story, and I don't know. It's usually the truth is somewhere in the middle.
It's in the book.
That's why it's always best to go to the source, as opposed to be relying on the media to provide you with some version of the truth.
Yeah, right. So, Darren, do you have some questions here?
Yeah, I've got a few questions from a few listeners sent in. They seem to there's quite a few on cloning. So I thought maybe before we jump into those, we could maybe touch on what exactly the cloning connection is to the Raelian movement.
Well, the cloning is that when Rael traveled to their planet, they have shown him how with one cell they could recreate the entire human being. And the way it's described in the book, and I don't know if you've seen, and if you're a fan of Star Trek, but I remember watching an episode of Star Trek that described exactly what's in Rael's book, where a cell was put into this machine, and then all of a sudden the body being created.
Was it the first Star Trek?
It's in one of the Star Trek, but and actually, if you read also the creation of man in the Quran, there's also a very close description that looks very much like the creation of a man in a laboratory. And so, you see all the bone, the skeleton, and then you start seeing the muscles, and then you start seeing the face and everything. And so what they did is they took a picture that Rael had on him, and they recreated a being exactly looking like that person on the picture. That was the first step. And then after that, they said, well, we can also recreate a copy of you. And they took a sample DNA of his, and then put it into the machine, and then an exact copy of Rael was made. And so, they showed him that it was possible to recreate a human being at the adult stage, not going through all the stages of life, that we have to go through,
What about the consciousness part of it?
Well, what they do is, for the consciousness, is they download all the memories, all the everything that you have experienced in your life, and it is recorded into your memory, and so they're able to download the information into your brain. So, and they're also able that if you wanted to change anything, you could say, well, I'd like to have curly hair, or I'd like to have blue eyes. They could also do that because they have mastered the, DNA engineering. So, they could recreate you the way that you want. But basically, the cloning, the reason why we believe in cloning is that it's one step. If we're able to recreate a human being, eventually we will be able to, we will continue doing progress in our science, and eventually we would be able to recreate a human being at the adult stage without having to go through all the phases of, teenager and then to become an adult and, go from infancy to teenagers and to adult. So, it's unfortunate that we were programmed to live 120 years. But because we do not live very in healthy ways, and we put a lot of pesticides in all our food, and we develop cancer and we die when we're starting to gain a little bit of wisdom, and we have all this knowledge that goes to waste because it's lost. And so if we were able to recreate, and one day this is a debate that society will need to have, is how can we, if we could recreate an incredible being who has done incredible things for humanity, if we could recreate that being,
who would it be?
Who would it be? If it was somebody who contributed so much to our wellness and to make us grow, or it could be an artist, or it could be Jim Morrison. Whoever it is, what are the standards and what are the policy that we need to put in place to recreate a being? And so that's a debate that we will need to have as a society, as to if we are going to recreate Einstein, or a genius that, I don't know, I'm just naming someone, but, it could be anyone.
It kind of gets into eugenics in a way, right? I mean, all of a sudden there'll be, discrimination.
Well, yeah, we need to decide, we would need to decide what are the criteria that would allow you to be elected to be recreated.
Wow.
What if we could recreate Gandhi?
Yeah. So are you guys working on this? Have you guys cloned anyone yet?
Well, there is a Raelian who has a business, and, she has done some cloning. But truly, I'm not in touch with her, and I do not know what she's doing in terms of her scientific, progress. But she did clone some individual, is what she said. But just like you, I haven't seen that child. And what she told us is that in order to protect that child, so it would not be taken away from the parents, she has chosen not to reveal who that was, and so the parents, would not lose their child. And so she'd rather lose her credibility than, having parents losing their child. So, it's unfortunate, but I don't know what she's doing, but philosophically, we were hoping that she would be successful, at doing this. So I think that, I don't know where she's at and what she's doing right now, but I'm hoping that, one day she would be able to do this, whether it is her or somebody else.
So, Darren, do you have other questions on cloning?
I think that probably summed up about another one. I guess Gitmo Yoho, one of our producers, I suppose. I think you've already addressed his first question. It was cloning is illegal in the U.S., but not in other countries. We can clone animals, so notwithstanding the ethics, what's stopping it? I suppose it's legislation and shit, right?
Yeah, but apparently it's happening in other parts, so...
Yeah, so his second question was... go ahead.
Is that how can you stop scientists from doing science? It's very difficult. It's like, telling an artist that they cannot do their art.
Yeah, well, even the ETs, right? Their scientists went against the government, right?
Yeah, they did, because of the passion that they had for their for what they did.
Yeah.
So his second question is, human cloning is said to have already happened. The Raelian prophecy is that the aliens will return now. And he's wondering if there's any evidence that they may have or they may be in the process of. Or...
Well, I do not have any evidence whatsoever that they exist. I do not have a piece of metal or a rock or anything like that. And truly, I think that it's best that way, because anybody can create any kind of, can say this is a proof, and then anyone would try to destroy it. So, I think the proof are everywhere. If you look up in the sky, and, I think more and more people have seen UFO, people are going to continue seeing UFO. These are some of the signs of times. Also, there are proof in the scriptures everywhere. Every religious book has something in the scriptures that describes that there were people from another planet visiting. If you look at even in Hawaii right now, the reason why they're asking for a landing pad in the main island of Hawaii is because they believe that the people from the stars were the one who created them. They were the people and they're supposed to be returning. So, if you look in all the scriptures, you will find, signs. And if you're interested in UFO, you will find proof somewhere. But what is a proof for me may not be a proof for you.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because pictures, videos, you can't prove they're real. You can just prove they're fake. So, all this evidence that happens, and no, you can't really prove anything's real like that. You can only say that it's fake. So all this evidence that there is just the bar gets raised and the evidence not accepted anyway. So It's kind of going to be up to people to have their own experiences, and then, and then we will evolve our consciousness from there.
Yes, and the Elohim did not want Rael to have a picture. They did not want Rael to have any evidence whatsoever, because they want us to have the freedom of choice. They have so much respect for us that they do not want to impose to us. And so they say, if you would like to have us coming back, we would be happy to come and visit you. But, of course, when we're going to invite them, we need to have a place to invite them. So it would make sense for us to have a place where they can come and they would be safe. So, I think that if they were to impose, they could have given him proof, but no, they want us to use our own freedom of choice to believe or not believe, or to say, yes, I'd love to meet you, or no, I don't want you to come here.
And at the same time, they want us to have some faith, I suppose.
Yes, but it's for us to decide.
So before we don't have time to get into it, I would like to talk to you about the geniocracy. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but
geniocracy.
Yeah.
Yes, geniocracy is a political system that they have on their planet, on the Elohim planet, where they have the most intelligent people being at the service of the people. So they have no government, and it's geniocracy is the genius at the service of people, and there are people electing these individuals that will make the decision for the whole. So it's not yes. So it and that's another book that Rael wrote several years after. But right now he also have we have another project called Paradism, which is one step before geniocracy. That is closer to the times that we're living now, which is, right now I think most people are starting to see that the government that we currently have is not serving the people.
So is paradism one step before, because before you can actually measure intelligence objectively.
Yes, and
figure out.
there are many different type of intelligence. So we would have to design some sort of a test that, to measure intelligence. And what kind of intelligence do we need to measure? I think it needs to be a number of a great number of type of intelligence that need to be measured in order to to be useful for this geniocracy. So and it, of course, Rael prefer for Raelians to be more involved in spreading the message and speaking about the Raelian movement and the different aspect of the philosophy. So he preferred that people that are into politics would take a concept like this and run with it and do something with it. But as a society, I think that also we can look at what can we do, because right now our government is not really serving our they're not really at our service. There's lots of scandals with the politicians misusing the money, and they're not really serving the people. And so paradigm is having a world where people do not have to work, but we have robots and technology, using nanotechnology, investing in nanotechnology, so we can start having science being at the service of human. So we could do the things that we were created to do, which is to create. We were created to be creators ourselves. And whether it is art or whether it is, technology or science, doing things with science, we were not born to work. This is modern slavery, what we're living in. We are working for corporations to make profits. And we're getting, the poor are getting poorer and the richer are getting richer, and the richer are very few.
Yeah, it's not a democracy. It's more of a corporatocracy or an oligarchy. So speaking of money... Idiocracy. Speaking of greediocracy.
Yeah, so there's so much more that I could say about paradigm, but we're running out a little bit of time. We could do another show some other time and talk a little bit more about that. But, you can visit the website, Paradigm. And this is something that we're working towards, also taking better care of the environment, going back to doing our own gardens, and so we don't eat as much pesticides, so we would have better food on our table, so we could live longer, so we would live healthier. And, and do the things that we enjoy. And, because right now, like the government right now, we're in election, and in Ontario, we're going through elections right now, and all they're talking is what they're going to do to create jobs. Well, eventually, the corporation, in order to make money, they need to eliminate jobs and replace the jobs by technology, robots, and, so eventually the jobs are going to disappear, which is a good thing in a way. I know it is scary right now, but it is a good thing in a way, because what we are living in is this modern slavery. We are working, and we're spending our life at the service of organization to make profit. And that's not what life should be. Life should be about creating and doing the things that we truly enjoy. And if that is contributing to humanity, then that's even better.
Yeah, I totally agree. Instead of like infinite consumerism, it's got to be more of like a resource-based economy model.
It is consume all the resources. That's the model.
That's the model.
That's right.
So yeah, there is a lot of stuff to talk to you about. Maybe we can have you on again.
I beg your pardon?
Have you met Rael?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, I've known Rael for many years. I've been Raelian for since 1975.
Wow.
So, yes, it's been many years. Yes.
And do you guys all have regular jobs, stuff like that?
Yes,
or some
absolutely.
Yeah.
We live in society and we have regular jobs, and being Raelian is just, it's our philosophy. So we gather once a month, and we do activities also throughout the month. And we talk about the message. Myself, I do interviews, and I do speaking events. And, every opportunity I'm also involved in many other responsibilities. I'm responsible for Ontario, for the spreading of the message in Ontario. So from time to time, I travel to different cities to go and give conferences and speaking engagement. And, I have a regular job because everything I do for the movement is free. I do this on a volunteer basis.
Right.
And there's not one Raelian that gets paid for doing, for spreading the message.
Does Rael get paid?
Sorry?
Does Rael get paid?
No, Rael doesn't get paid. The only money that he makes is on the sales of his book in French. And
Wow.
he's given his right for the English books and for many of the other books in all the other languages. So he lives, he doesn't live on a lot of money. He lives very, frugally. But he loves his life, and he's very happy that he has undertaken this mission, and he wants to continue doing this, and hopefully, before he dies, the Elohim will be back.
Does anyone real quick before we go, do you guys ever get people who join the movement after maybe taking some sort of psychedelic voyage?
I'm not sure. The Raelian philosophy is really to demystify things. So, even if an individual who was mystical came to us, he would find us very boring because we're not into psychedelic, belief. We even though we have pretty far-fetched, belief, we are very down-to-earth people. Yes.
Interesting. So if you do come into Alberta, let us know for sure, and we'll
Absolutely. I would love to. And I may be traveling that way sometime in the future. And also I could put you in contact with the guide responsible for Alberta. And she's a wonderful lady, and she lives. I believe she lives in Vancouver right now, but she travels to Alberta on a regular basis.
Yeah, very cool. And we'll link to your website and all that stuff in our show notes.
Maybe Graham could get that job.
Yes, and if you want to receive a package for the press conference that's going to be held tomorrow, let me know, and I'll send that to you as well.
And welcome back to the Grimerica show. That was our chat with Diane Brisebois of the Raelian Movement.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, that was good.
Some things.
Yeah.
Are you all in?
I'm all in.
I figured. I was actually wondering if we were going to see you back at the studio, or if you were just going to drop off the face of the earth. Off at some sex party someplace.
Oh, well, that's one thing we didn't really ask her about. I think that a lot of people will be disappointed in that part of it. We didn't really get into the whole, walking around half nude thing and all that.
Well, that's because the Grimerica show is
respectful.
Respectful.
We will talk. We'll talk to her about that next time for sure. But she did forward me an interview with her on CTV, actually, about the embassy, asking Canada for 4 square kilometers of land because they've got the $40 million plans for the embassy.
Perfect. Tax dollars at work.
Hey, man.
I guess it would be tax dollars. It would be donations.
No, it's not. They're not asking for money. They're not asking for money to build it at all. The money's all privately raised by them.
Yeah.
They're just asking for 4 square kilometers of land. So
I say give it to them.
Give it to them.
The airspace thing is a little sketchy, but
just
I don't think
don't fly
it's
over.
less sketchy if it's not over Israel.
That's right. Anyways, CTV was actually quite respectful with her. I was happy. I don't think that would happen down south in America. I don't know. They'd sort of make fun of it, but the guy was actually, giving her the respect.
In America.
So
we got next week roundtable. Daniele Bolelli, Richie Man, Rich Evers. That guy's a riot, man.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. Hopefully one day we'll get to do a face-to-face around the table, but it was still fun. And next week, Passport will come out, and the roundtable will come out next week. So it's kind of a double whammy. So
yeah,
more bang for your buck.
And do you want to give everybody a little teaser of who you got lined up for a quick little chat?
Sheldrake?
Yeah.
He's coming on June 30th, I think.
I can't wait for that.
So yeah, that one's coming up. So thanks for listening, guys. As usual, you'll find links to everything we talked about in the show notes, all the music you heard. Hit up the Moneybomb. Help us pay some bills. And
we want to thank Diane again for coming on. And I want to thank the guys that sent us feedback for the show too. That was quite humbling.
Yeah. Let's humble the shit out of Graham. Spam them. Spamgram.
That's GRAHAM.
At Grimerica.com.
Yeah. And tweet Darren at Grimerica.
Yeah, sweet tweets. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
We are the ones who have created a forms of life like this. From outer space we came down. Can't you believe? Then my sign must pass by heartless for man. Some DNA we put in coming down. Began the creation of a new life. We are brothers of the world, the creators of mankind. There's nothing but coming from our life. While the ship is blowing around, every word that we have found. From the space we came all back in time. Life is like a turning cycle that never ends. There's no religion or a code and code to defend. The key is the science and the key of consciousness, guiding